Greeting. Welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube page. Hi, I'm Lotus the Witch, and I wanted to go ahead and say I apologize for the sounds that you're going to hear. I am outside. There's nothing I can do. It is out of my control. So, today's episode is kind of going to be another mind dump of just information. I'm trying to get to the point where I actually can schedule and stick to a scheduling. But right now my life is too crazy for that. In a good way. But this is also feels very weird to me because one of my very first YouTube videos was me talking outside. So kind of full circle here. But hi, hello, I'm Lotus the Witch if you don't know who I am. I am a magical practitioner of many practices. I'm a medium and obviously I'm a witch. But it's very weird to go as a solitary practitioner and then to, over the course of a few months, have hundreds of thousands of people look up to you. And there's this weird pressure that comes with that. So if you've recently seen some of primarily TikTok, which I'm trying to get away from, that app is just a cesspool of so many things. It's a great app, but it's also as toxic as fuck. If you did not know, the original algorithm that was built for TikTok was based off of addiction and how addiction affects the brain. So it is literally created and made to make us more addicting to it. And what's really weird about me making this particular video is because I made a video before back when I did my live witches chats where I was kind of complaining because I could not get my hands on one of these, as in a more updated phone. The phone that I used to have when I started this was my grandmother's, and it was like a straight talk phone. So I could use the internet, but it was 2G, 3G, it wasn't 4G or even 5G. And for so long, I used to think that I was cursed due to the fact that I could not get my hands on this technology. And now that I have my hands on this technology, I can't fucking stand it because I've realized due to my untreated ADHD that it's making it 20 times worse. Not to mention there's this weird thing that comes along with, I'm going to say primarily TikTok, but it's in general all social media, which is when you post something. The addictive aspect of TikTok is you post something, one of your videos that you were not expecting to go anywhere goes absolutely fucking through the roof, right? So what winds up happening is you wind up getting this self-validation because hundreds of other thousands of people or even 100 people agreed with what you said. So it starts this weird thing up where it's like you're constantly searching for that same feeling. Even though, with TikTok in general, I don't get paid for it. I've tried the beta program. I got kicked out of the beta program. I tried it again. It just wasn't really going anywhere. So, unless I go live and get sent gifts, which I also hate due to the fact that TikTok gets more of those proceeds than I do, that's the only time that I actually get paid for making content. Here on YouTube, that's not going to happen probably. I'm hoping it's going to happen at the end of the year. But there's this misunderstanding with where people's oh, well, I just need 1,000 subscribers and then I'll start getting paid on YouTube. No, it's not. You have to have 1,000 subscribers. You've got to have a certain amount of hours of watch time before you can even start getting paid for your videos. My podcast, I was getting paid for. It was Spotify, or it was Anchor, which is now transitioned to Spotify for podcasters. And due to the fact that, don't get me wrong, they've improved the fuck out of this platform, but they've taken the ability to actually get paid for just making a platform go away. But anyways, it's online. Online in witchcraft, we're in a very weird place. Not to mention the psychological aspect of all of this, because when you become a content creator, a teacher, and a mentor, there's this honeymoon phase where everything is going great, and then there's this oh shit phase, and then there's this phase, because I struggle with depression. If you've known me for any amount of time in my life, you know this. I'm a sucky friend, as in, I wind up getting caught up in things, and then I get it in my head that, well, I haven't spoken to them in so long, so I'm not going to go and ruin their day. In reality, it's not like that. but with the content creating, you start to feel this pressure that you need to kind of post more, and then if that video doesn't go anywhere, it gets in your head, and then it starts this obsessive spiral of which is currently what I'm going through, to be honest. um it's more than just imposter syndrome. I've been practicing openly and fully for almost 20 years, if not we're at 20 years. Then that's not a flex, okay? Because I just literally just said that thanks to content creating, I question my knowledge of witchcraft every single day. Not to mention, there's a lot of different types of practitioners. So you have what I call the scholar practitioner. They are the witches that if you need to know a fact about the historical aspects of how this became, they're your go-to. And then you have creators like me where a lot of my stuff is intuitive. I'm that weird person who will become obsessed over a book series, but due to my ADHD, have a very, very hard time of remembering what I read. But with witchcraft, that was different for me because I guess it was the one subject that I loved. So, like, back when I was in school, science and history and literature were the only three subjects that I was really good at because it kept my attention. I was interested in it. Except for the Civil War. The American US history just sucks in high school because you get to a point where it's the same fucking shit and all they do is talk about the fucking wars. Anyways, but you get into this witchcraft I could actually obtain. I literally got so hyper fixated on it that I would sit down because, I thought it was going to be like in Charmed. So I would sit down and I would just say these spells over and over and over and over again until I could literally quote it word by word. Like the Wiccan Read. I'm not even Wiccan anymore, and I still follow the Wiccan Read. I don't follow it, but I've memorized it. But when you become a content creator and then you put your foot in your mouth, like I have multiple times, if anybody's on TikTok, I'm pretty sure you've seen the graveyard dirt video. Not my finest moment. Or the video that was taken out of content and started a war where I lost over 2,000 followers, only like a few years later to reach out to said person, and we're mutuals now. What the fuck is life? Anyways, when that moment happens, and this is something you're going to see in the witchy and spiritual community, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that I don't even know a term for them. So after I describe this, let me know a term that you would use. But they almost intentionally seek out new beginners, and they see the potential in you, and they squash it. They stick it in a jar and shake the fuck out of it, and then you're gonna experience that, unfortunately. And then due to the internet, I'm gonna have to move for a second. So hold that thought. The sun is just getting a little bit too hot. I'm moving around, so I can get into some shade, but I have to show you all this. We have visitors. Okay, that's better, but I am closer to the dog, so you're gonna hear him bark. Anyways, there's this weird thing that winds up happening where you get to a point where you go into imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, for anybody who doesn't know, imagine spending 25 years at a job, 15 years, 10 years at a job, working to become the district manager, and then you finally get that position. And then your entire mental state cycles because you're like, why am I here? This is not for me. Okay, I don't have the experience, even though you do. That's imposter syndrome. It sucks, and you're going to experience it a lot if you become a content creator. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. But when you get to that point, especially in witchcraft, it gets weird because I'm an extremely intuitive person when it comes to my practice. That is also something that you are not just going to be able to jump into. The reason that is because you need to know the principles. You need a little background information before you can fully start to apply your intuition when it comes to your magic. Like substitute this or substitute that or take that away or take that back. It's this weird process. but it's also not something you need to rush into. There are crucial things that are needed as knowledge to have in order to safely practice witchcraft. Um, and if for any reason you don't have that, well, then you are going to experience the terminology that we use around these parts. Fuck around and find out. Because you are, in fact, you will fuck around and find out. Okay, pay no attention to the car that I'm propping up against, okay? I'm trying to get the background to where you can see it without it getting too dark. Maybe that'll work. Anyways. Okay, sorry about that. I've had to move around multiple times. But you are going to experience imposter syndrome. Not just in witchcraft, but in other places too. The key, if you're going to try to find a mentoring or a teacher, try to find somebody that does not talk down to you. So, no offense to my elders, you're going to find some people that they do not like this new change, the online witchy community and all this other shit, all right? But you're going to want to find somebody that will help you, that will see your potential and then nurture that potential. Because self-doubt is the number one killer of all witchcraft, especially when it comes to yourself. Because what we mean by witchcraft is self-empowering, and it helps you discover how much power you have, is the fact that confidence is key. And I know some people are going to be like, well, I have no confidence at all. Hi, I'm Fire Lotus, and I don't either, but yet I'm more comfortable behind a camera than I am talking to somebody in real life. Your confidence will come in the success and unsuccess of your spell work, because failure in witchcraft is imminent. I said that wrong, but you get what I'm saying. You're going to fail, and that's the point. Your craft, your specific spiritual journey, it is going to be different from any other experience on this planet. You could be an identical twin, and you and your twin start this journey out. You're all going to have different experiences, and that's the point. Everybody, when they hear about witchcraft, they focus on witch. No. Craft. Craft. It is going to take most of your, if not your entire life, to kind of hone in what your craft is, but that is part of the process. I've said it 100 times before. There is going to be a shit ton of change in your spiritual practice. You're going to have moments where a lot of things resonate. You're going to wake up and none of that shit resonates with you. That is growth, okay? In order to grow, you have to have change because there has to have flow. You will come to moments. I came to this moment in Wicca. No offense to my Wiccans. Not all Wiccans are the same, just like not all Christians and not all witches are the same. All right? But in Wiccan, I kind of just plateaued. Like, I went up and there was no going further. It was just but the problem, the solution, don't rush, and don't overwhelm yourself if you're just now starting out. Find a few subjects that work for you and go about that. Now, let's go back with the confidence and why I stated what I stated, that online. So a lot of the things that I've seen on Facebook specifically is you will have a seedling. They're so excited. They finally get the things to set up their altars. Not that you need one. And they'll post it on a Facebook group. I run a Facebook group. I'm part of probably hundreds of other ones. There are some really great ones, but there's also some toxic ass ones where you will learn the term witch war. Basically, it's where one or two and or a group of witches / another group of witches do not agree with shit. They get into an argument over a conversation, and then one thing leads to another, and this person through this and that and this. It's all fucking witchcraft shit all over. I mean, the Salem witch trials all over again. It's all speculative evidence. Anyways, they'll post a video and then you'll have all of these experts. They're not. Come through and then be like, well, you can't have I'm not even going to finish that because I don't want to butcher their name. You can't have Hecate and say Freya on the same altar because they don't... Shut up, okay? You can do whatever the fuck you want. If you do something on your altar and your spirits do not like that, they will let you know. Whether that is it falls off your altar, I've had that. Whether it slings itself across the room, I've had that too. Or you just get a weird vibe where you're like, you know what? I don't like that. There is no right or wrong ways to do an altar. Like I stated before, you don't need an altar unless you feel like you want one. You can also have an altar to yourself. In general, you're going to have people, witches, all throughout your life, basically coming in and telling you that, no, you should do it this way. And to that, I have to say, go fuck yourself. That's one of the reasons a lot of the Wiccan books did a lot of damage to us, because most of the older school witches books, they're like, you either you do it like this or it doesn't work. And that's bullshit. Sorry, I'm not flicking y'all off. I'm flicking the books off. Speaking of books, closed practices. Oh my god, that's closed. Fuck what people say online. Yes, there are practices and paths that are 100% closed. But does that mean you can't go out and read? No. I can read. I've read a lot of subjects. You're educating yourself. Okay? You can read on something that is closed and not be participating in cultural appropriating and or participating in a closed practice because you are expanding your knowledge. Not to mention, now you have that book of that closed practice on your bookshelf, which means now you are a keeper of knowledge. And when the moment you decide to become a witch, that's kind of what we do. Not to mention folk practices in general, it gets a little weird. I'll link a few episodes, creators and episodes I'm going to try to. They're either going to be in the description of this video or in the comments. I listened to a podcast episode the other day, and the Sarah Conjugadia, they did an absolutely amazing conversation about hoodoo and conjure and root work. And the reason that there's so much misinformation, because it's very complex on some of the individual ingredients, practices that kind of make it up as a whole. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been going through with the whole, I don't feel like I should be making content because I don't feel like I know enough. In reality, I know a lot. But I'm also always learning. I am never an expert, okay? If anything, I'm an expert on how not to do that. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been going through. And I'm weird because if I can't put my 100 in it, I don't need to be doing it. It's like back when I used to work at the Circle K, and we'd have people just standing around. Well, there's nothing to do. Why are you there? You're at work. Find something to do. It's a fucking gas station, all right? And they're like, oh, well, why not you just sit down? If I'm going to sit on my ass, I'm going to be at home. I'm at work to work. Let's fucking work. But that's me. Everybody's going to be different. If you do want to become a content creator, specifically regarding your witchcraft, say you just started your journey and you want to document it, word that online. Another thing that I've seen online is where a seedling will make a few videos on a witchcraft and then it pops the fuck off, and then they get put into this weird area where they start having people ask them questions, but in reality, I don't think they have enough experience to actually step up into that role as being a teacher. But it's that weird sociology, psychology thing that goes on with being online and how it affects the ego and all the other shit. Speaking of egos, shadow work is not required to do witchcraft. And shadow work in general, in my opinion, is complete and utter bullshit. Okay? I'm sorry. It is. It's a cash cow pop term word that people are using, and now it's growing because people just like to be told what to fucking do, I guess. I don't know. And if you do have a kink of that, we don't kink shame here, all right? I'm just saying you don't have to do shadow work, okay? Shadow work is overrated. Not to mention, look at all the people who keep constantly pushing that shit down your throat and tell me if they've deconstructed their ego. Depending on the type of shadow work they're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go. Keeping this short, at least 20 minutes, and the wind keeps picking up, and I don't know if it's affecting the audio. So if you made it this far, what is your favorite type of spice or herb? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get all the notifications on when I go live, and potentially send this to somebody. You never know who can learn from it. Peace.